Welcome to the Protecting Your Nest podcast, achieving metabolic health, where we all have normal blood pressure, blood glucose, triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, and a healthy waist size, has only been achieved by only 6.8% of the American population based on a recent study done at Tufts University. But did you know that based on the data from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, that Native Americans have a much lower health status when compared to other Americans? That includes a lower life expectancy and, unfortunately, a disproportionate number of Native Americans with a higher disease burden. This may be due to different reasons. Maybe it's the education, financial resources, or lack of access to healthcare. Now, as you could imagine, this leads to an increased risk for diseases of the heart, cancer, diabetes, and so many other conditions that can lead to premature death in Native Americans. In fact, Native Americans born today have a life expectancy that is 5.5 years less than the US compared to other races. Given the higher health status enjoyed by most Americans, the lingering health disparities of Native Americans should be troubling to us all. Today, I want to bring this issue to the forefront by having a guest who is from this community and who can share his perspective. Today's guest is Victor Ramos. Victor is one of my patients, one of my favorite patients, actually, and he's made some tremendous strides by adopting wonderful lifestyle changes that has helped him to achieve metabolic health. He's here today to share his story of healing, which I hope will inspire you to start your path to healing or to continue your path of healing. And with that, Victor, I am so excited to welcome you to the Protecting Your Nest podcast. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing fine, doctor. Thank you very much. How you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm good. I'm so happy to have you here. And I think it's so important that as we share our messages of healing, we reach every community that we can. I think that when you hear about these disparities where some communities have more problems than others, you really want to make sure that everybody who has an opportunity to heal has that opportunity. And you've made a tremendous transformation. I'm so proud of you. And I'm just excited to introduce you to my audience. So, Victor, let's talk a little bit about, who you are and maybe even how you became my patient. So, talk a little bit about your background and maybe how you became my patient.
Well, I was blessed that I was born to a Spaniard mother and a Maya Indian Native American, and very happy with my mom because that doesn't happen over there. Spanish
Mm,
people hate Native Americans,
mm,
but you know, she fell in love with a guy, and here we are. Um, he immigrated in 19, I'm not sure about the year, between 61 and 65 to Chicago, and brought us to the United States in 1969. And that's when my thing started in Chicago, my history, learning about the black people and the people that live here, different cultures.
mm-hmm.
And it was very exciting, to say the least. So that's how I started here. But coming to you, it was Cigna uh, insurance company. They connected me with you. And I don't know if you remember or not, but I called you an Italian. I thought you were Italian with the name Tony.
That's right. That is an Italian name.
And the second
That's
time I came around, you asked me how was being used like a used car. Remember that?
Yeah, that's funny. How do you remember that? I have no clue, but I do.
My father told me I have a mind, a picture mind, a photographic mind. He told me you remember everything.
Yeah, I can see that, and yeah, you always have a lot of stories to tell when we see each other, and I'm always amazed. So that's pretty interesting. So you ended up being the product of two different cultures,
Exactly.
and and is that ever a challenge for you as you're trying to live in these different worlds? Does that ever create a challenge for you trying to, be a part of both and not being separate from both? I mean, that could be a challenge. A lot of people speak of that.
Well, the reason I was blessed because of my mom was because the way the rich family treated her because she married a Native American Indian,
Mhm.
and she handled it. I mean, with so much humble.
Mhm.
And I learned from that. There was what it's not who you are, is what is if you love that person, if you want to be with that person,
Mm.
which is it's an awesome thing. And coming to Chicago, I came after the Democratic thing in 1968.
Mhm.
That's what happened. And I started learning from the black people what happened and how people were getting treated here in the United States, which I didn't
Mhm.
know. I mean, I knew about the story of black people, but I really didn't know that it was really that bad. Of course, I
Wow.
went to high school with them,
Mhm.
and I got to learn from them
Mm.
because there was obviously another lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And
And to
uh,
think they migrated from Mississippi to come to a better
ex-
life, and then they're
ex-
still being treated like crap, right? It's like crazy.
exactly, and the music that was beautiful. I
Yeah.
mean, the music is beautiful no matter what it is, Spanish or whatever it is. But the way they came to Chicago with that beautiful music, that was awesome.
Mhm. I love cultures. My son has a podcast, Ritmos Negros, which is Black Rhythms, and he has shown me the connection between African American music, Latin American culture, and it's been like an eye-opening thing. And you're right, the influence of those different cultures coming together is a beautiful thing to behold. I love it.
And
So,
another thing, when we came to Chicago, Nixon was the president,
mhm.
and he was a funny guy, a crook. But he gave us that name, the Wetbacks,
Oh,
and
wow.
we came in 1969. In 1970, we hit the parks and all that. We different people came from different Central American countries and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Came from Mexico. I mean, I came from Guatemala, Mexico. All the people from Colombia. I mean, everything. I even met a friend that played football, soccer with us in a soccer team in high school.
Mhm.
He walked in and he said, "I play football." So he got my spot because I had to play goalie, and he did fantastic.
Mhm.
So every time, like the Puerto Ricans and blacks and all that, different gangs, Latin Kings, Latin Souls, whatever.
Mhm.
I lived in the Saints community, and every time they say, "Oh, you're a Saint. You live over there on 45th and Wood," I said, "No, man. They call me the wetback."
Mm. That's
So
crazy.
that was my you know get out of trouble card.
Right, right, right.
You know what I mean? I
That
said,
was
"Oh
like
yeah, you're the
protection.
guys that swam the river and all that." Yeah, 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 that's us. And I actually didn't speak English that good yet because I just came. So my language just started.
Right. But see, the
Uh,
thing that's interesting about you, as I shared with you the last time you were in clinic, you're talking about wetbacks, which I assume is a derogatory term for a person with Mexican descent, correct?
right, right, right.
So I had no clue you had any kind of Indian Yeah, I did, like Native American background. I had no clue. So
Well, okay, I'm gonna explain something to you. We all have Native American blood. The
okay,
Mexicans are Aztecs. They came
okay,
from the Aztec Mayan creation, and we are the Mayans. And there is Mayans in Mexico because the myth is that the Egyptians landed in Central America and Mexico with the pyramids.
okay.
That's our story. We
That's why you
say
have a pyramid on your Facebook account.
exactly,
Gotcha.
and the myth they have study about us, read about us, and they can't figure how we came about, and which I think is
Huh.
it's awesome that
That
they haven't figured out where we come from
right.
because we were
But how
people that built,
how,
you
how do
know.
you maintain this? I mean, you have what kind of impressed me when we kind of chatted briefly about this in clinic. You have a strong sense of your history. So how do you maintain it? More importantly, do you have others, the younger generation, that you try to keep them aware of their history because you're dealing with two histories here. So how do you maintain that?
My family. I told you about my brother, and guess what? My brother is your age. He's 50 years old.
Oh,
The one
gotcha.
that I've been
Okay.
talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, he's your age. He's 50 years old. What month were you born?
I'm June in June.
He was born in April. Actually, the brother that I told you about, Getulio,
Mm-hmm.
that died of leukemia,
Mm-hmm.
he died in 1971 at Christmas time. And my brother Ivan was born April 21st the next year, 72.
Okay. Okay.
So that was, I always call him the given child.
Mm.
And I call him the Chicano Chapin.
Mm.
You know, it's actually a Mexican is called Chicano. But like I told you about the Indio Chapin, I explained to you what
Mm-hmm.
it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I call him Chicano Chapin.
Cool. So your family bonds are strong, and you, whether they're still here or not, you guys, you keep that history in the family so each generation is aware of where you're from and what that and how important that is, right? So it sounds
Yes,
like that's important. And that's
that's
even
very
more.
important.
And I think about your journey. Obviously, I'm a low carb doc and, keto, carnivore, metabolic health. And a lot of people come to this podcast because they want to be inspired by those who heal. So part of why it's important that you took this journey to healing is that we need you to be around to share that history with the next generation, right? So let's talk a little bit about, what happened. We saw each other, we talked about lifestyle. You adopted some new lifestyle changes, and lo and behold, good things start happening. So, talk a little bit about what you changed, what's gotten better. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, like I told you in the office, a year and a half ago, my son woke me up, which I told you he passed, and I had that dream. I play football and I coach for him. So when he passed, my best friend passed, and I got hurt. I went into I spun into something different. It wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when I met you, that person wasn't me because I wasn't really listening to you. Remember when I told you that you were talking about weight and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and I told you, well, everybody has a different system
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of leave me alone. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
But then you start before COVID, you call me an obese person, and I was border diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see you until what, 6 months later,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And then I don't know if you remember or not, I was sending you pictures of me exercising and all that.
Mm-hmm. And I saw some of that on Facebook, I think. Yeah.
And because I what you told me, it was a challenge. I always
Mm.
had that thing about people challenging me. You know, okay,
Mm.
you don't believe me, I'll show you. That's the kind of type of thing I grew up with my mother. You know, you you do better than what you were doing before.
Mm.
So that was a challenge for me that you gave me, and I'll never forget that when I came back, you said, "Wow."
Yeah.
That's when I lost 41 pounds,
Yeah, I was shocked.
and that was it was between my son, my friend, what I went through. I told my brother yesterday, "Hey, my mind is clear. I lost
Mm-hmm.
all this weight. You know, I'm good now. I think I'm back,
Mm.
which I'm back. And I wanted to have the chance to appreciate that you did that for me.
You
You
know,
challenged me.
this is a great message, not only to the clinician who has to be very careful how we talk to each other, right? So we want to inspire people, motivate people, but we want to do it with dignity and respect. And we have to
Exactly.
understand that, like, when you're losing family members and stuff, it's hard to do any of this stuff, because you're in bereavement. You're kind of getting through that. But I think any parent also can learn a valuable lesson. Our babies need to be challenged. Uh, they need to have something to work towards, and everybody who hears that message is not going to necessarily be in a position or a place to make the change.
And
But it's
I ha- I
inspiring.
ha- I have another one,
Yes, sir.
which is again I was talking about my mom. I was blessed to have my mother like that. When I got hurt, I was walking on walkers and gains and you name it. I couldn't walk, but I made myself walk. And the first time when I was walking with my walkers, there was a black lady that lived around here somewhere, and she goes, "God is going to bless you."
Mm.
I just turned around. I looked at her. So, the first thing I thought was, "Is a message from mom."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For
Mm-hmm.
for her to say something like that to a person that she didn't know,
Don't even know.
that was awesome. And that was the first thing I thought. Hey, mom, thank you. That's the first thing I thought. Of course, I said thank you to her, but my first thing was my mom in my mind.
Yeah.
Which it was awesome. Every time I see her, ever since the first time, and now that I'm walking and she see me walking and all that, she goes, "See, I told you. I prayed for
Yeah.
you all the time, and you did it."
Wow.
So,
Eh,
it's a message from mom. I keep saying that. It's a
I
message from
love
mom.
that. And I love what I love. Like, I have a group of my listeners. I love everybody. I have a group of my listeners who are very spiritual, God fearing people. Then I have a group of people who are literally like atheists, and they may think about the universe. But all I know is that rather it's God or the universe, it just brings the right people into your life at the right time, and it just gives you right exactly what you need when you need it. You just got to keep believing, having faith, and knowing that that will come your way. And so it just warms my heart that a stranger literally was looking out for you and giving you what you needed in that moment.
Good
And
vibes.
it's a good vibe. And all we need is a little nudge. When we start to have that self-doubt, we need just a little nudge, whether it's how we talk to our kids or even how we talk to our spouses or our friends, family, coworkers, patients, doctors. We need a little nudge. And sometimes there may come a day when you come into the office and, like, because when you come to see me, I like your energy, right? that
Mhm.
energy you bring to that visit may help me deal with the patient who may be more challenging later in the day. So we're
Yes,
all kind of blessing each other. How's your family reacting to your physical transformation? First of all, how much weight have you lost overall? I know you lost 40. Is it in the 50s now?
53.
53.
Remember,
So how's your
it was 202, and I'm
yeah,
149 now.
it's insane. You're a different man. How's your family reacting to that so far?
My sister laughs. She goes, "Wow, I haven't seen my brother since for a while." Uh, but I'm sure when he sees me, he's gonna be like, "Whoa!" My other brother Joe in Tennessee, I told him about it. He goes, "You
Right.
mean you don't have that belly no more?"
Right. Right.
I said, "No, bro. I lost all that." I was gonna bring another thing about my mom.
Yeah, please.
Um, you know, she was a blessing lady. She was my mom, right? But she was like an angel for everybody. Every time you felt down, you felt bad or down, or you didn't want to, want to do anything. She just said, "Blessings are coming, son.
Mm,
Believe, pray. You're gonna be good. Everybody's
mm,
gonna be good." She never, even though she went through that problem with the family not liking her because she married a Native American
mhm,
Indian.
mhm,
She didn't even face her. She just kept believing that something was going to happen for us,
mhm.
for the family. My father left, I was mad, and she just kept calming me down. It's okay, you know.
What was your mom's name?
Berta, Betancourt,
Bertha. Bertha.
Betancourt.
Man, I'm gonna go with Bertha. That's too much.
Betancourt actually is a. I told you, she told me that she named me after a French writer,
Oh, okay, cool.
Victor Hugo Betancourt.
Nice.
But the Betancourt came out because when we came to the United States, they take all the main name and the actually my name would have been Victor Hugo Betancourt de Ramos.
There, Ramos.
Yeah, because you belong, you know, to your father.
Okay. So it's Bertha Bettencourt. Is that close enough?
Yeah, Betancourt. Yeah.
So
Well, no, actually the middle name is it was Alicia, like Alice Alicia.
yes, Alicia, Miss Bertha. What a blessing to have kind of an angel on earth. It's nice to have an angel in heaven as well. And again, when we struggle, it's nice to have somebody. You had a stranger, you got a doctor that's got your back, you got your mom who's an angel in your life that's blessing us. And a lot of people, do you think that's why you were able to do what some people can't do? When people are faced with the information I shared with you, and you
Well,
consider it a challenge, what do you think allowed you to overcome that and to do it other
the,
than just being challenged?
the blessings my mom gave me, that she told me that everything was going to be good. I always say to my brothers that she walks with me,
I believe that.
and determination to do what she taught me. To love people, help people, be good to your family. Uh, and the thing about keep life will be better. Just keep trying,
Mhm.
pray, believe. So those
So
things I keep in my mind because of her.
do you think other people need to seek out, rather it's a friend, family member, somebody to kind of help them become accountable? Like, because people struggle. Is there some magic that they may need that'll? My assumption is that most of us have somebody in our life that we kind of lean on. Do you think that's something that would help other people as well?
Definitely, you always have someone, but like my mom says, she told me all the time. She goes, "Be good, and God will bless you more better than what you imagine.
Hmm.
Be good to people, and people see that, and They help you. When I got hurt,
Okay.
Dr. Tony, I have so many strangers. I almost lost this apartment where I live at because I saved all my money. I got hurt, and I think I had about a month, $780 left, and the rent was like 850.
Mhm.
But then I went and got records from my doctor. Dr. Busto was his name. I found
Mhm.
out I found out that he doesn't take my insurance.
Mhm.
But that's another person that helped me a lot. Actually, he wanted to put me on disability when I was 50 years old. He
Mhm.
told me that he explained to me about the medicine. The medicine is not a cure. The medicine it stops the deterioration of your bones and ligaments. It keeps it in check.
Mhm.
So when I lost my insurance company, the insurance I had from my employer, I found out what he was talking about. And the
Mm.
first time I went to you, I don't know if you remember, but that's the first thing I asked you for. It was the medicine
Mhm.
because I needed it. And I couldn't explain to you why because I was so confused about what I went through.
Mhm.
But that's what he told me. He says, one thing I'm going to tell you, he said, if you lose your insurance, you're going to find out how bad it's going to get. And it got bad.
Mm.
It got
Mm.
real bad. My hip went down, out, my knee, uh, everything started just deteriorating. Actually, I was real happy when I met you. I always tell you, you're my blessing because
Mm.
you are my blessing. I'm very happy
Man.
that I got a doctor like you because other doctors don't care.
Mm.
And
And I
we do get along, and I can speak to you, and you can speak to me, which
yeah,
is
we
awesome.
have a I think it's nice when you can literally help people, you know, rather you're kinda coaching or just sharing something that I spent a lot of time in the books, right? So you're sharing those things. You definitely wanna be a human being and care about the people that you are privileged to, take care of, and I can't see it any other way. I think that many people who go into healthcare have good hearts and good intentions. The system will kinda tarnish that, and they're so focused on following the recipe of disease maintenance that they stop becoming healers. And I had to step away from healthcare for a while in terms of how I learned to learn how to be a healer again. And part of the healing is literally us having rapport and a relationship with each other. Like it's not just making sure you have a prescription or learning how to reduce starch in your diet. It's really about having a relationship with somebody who cares about you. And it's really a privilege just to hear you talk about that in the way you're talking about it. And that's why I want everybody, and that's why this podcast is important because I want to reach people I can't see face to face, so that they'll know that yes, there are doctors out there who care. There are doctors who understand that lifestyle medicine is better than prescriptions, and it's okay to also use medicines as you heal, hopefully with the goal in many cases of not having to take it. And and I'm curious when you think about the community. You have two communities that you're from. Then you have the the Native American community. You have the community that's more kind of Latin American. But these communities are disproportionately impacted by chronic illness, right? So when you think about that, why do you think, some of this is obvious, but what's been your experience of why so many of our brothers and sisters are sick?
I'm happy you asked me about that. I'm very happy you asked me about that because, as you know, the people that came from Europe uh, and came over here and genocide our people and all that, and they made their own laws so they could help each other grow. It left us behind, like the brothers and sisters like yourself. You
Mhm.
know, they started using words that it's not really the truth. They don't want to call us Native Americans because we weren't born here, but we are Native Americans. For them, the Native Americans are the people that were born in the United States, and they call it
Mhm.
America, which is not.
Mm.
But those names they gave us, like Spanish, Latinx,
Mm.
Latino, uh, all this garbage. We're not that. Those are names they give us.
Mm.
We're not welcome about that. We have names, countries that we came from. They don't even know about. And the blessing I had is that when my mother put me in school over there in Guatemala, she made sure I learned everything. I
Mm.
graduated over there in grammar school. I have a grammar school education diploma and an English grammar school diploma in a high school. And like I said, I never finished college because of the explanation I gave you.
Mhm.
And but see, that's the thing. A lot of people don't know. They know that we're not that. No, they don't even know that. That Latino. What's a Latino? I don't came from no Latin country. I didn't come from Spain. I didn't come. I don't know what Latinx supposed to mean.
Mhm.
Uh, no, I was born in the American continent, an American Indian.
Mm.
But they don't. They don't call us the right thing. They just call us different names. And Nixon, look what Nixon did. Let's run down the wetbacks,
Mm.
the
Yeah, it
people that
got
came
worse.
from Mexico.
Mm.
Come on. But
Yeah.
that's the way they are. I don't want to say racist because
Mhm.
to them they get mad about that, but it's the truth. And but things like that we gotta face. It's like
Right.
me and the brothers and sisters over there in Tilden. They take us in. They 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 beat us up. They let us go, take us to a different neighborhood. So
Mhm.
hopefully we get killed in a different neighborhood. That was I call the Irish law. Richard
Mhm.
Daley was the mayor. Is I don't know if you know about Burke. He was the
Mm-mm.
commissioner of police, and a lot of people are getting free because the tactics he used back in the 70s.
Mhm.
So we had to face that,
Mm.
but we lived through it. And that was in 1969 when I came in. In 1971, that's when they started putting uh, policemen in schools, especially at Tilden. They have like two people, a sergeant and two more. For what? I don't know, but they did it.
Mm.
And that's how the enforcement came in
Mhm.
schools,
Mhm.
and they still have them. So it was a
Wow.
different world back then.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
didn't,
it
we didn't
sounds
have
like
no
it was.
recorders or anything like that, or
Right.
cameras or whatever.
That's
They
right.
just did it to us. My mom asked me one
Yeah.
time. I got beat up bad in jail, and she asked me, "Why don't you go to the police?" I go, "Mommy,
Mm-mm.
ellos me
Mm.
pegaron. They killed.
Mm. Mhm.
They uh, they hit me.
Mm.
And how am I going to go to the police?"
Mm.
But that happened. You know.
That's a trauma that you'll never, like, overcome, so, like, I have a perception, and I have cops who are patients, but I have a perception when I have to interact with a cop that makes me struggle to interact in a way where I feel comfortable. Sounds like you would have that same struggle, and it's that history is just it's just palpable, and I think about, like, your history in terms of, I mean, your culture is so rich and important, and it may have even impacted how you look at food. And a lot of the people in the low carb community, they talk about what's the ancestral appropriate diet, right? And when I
Right.
think about Native Americans, I think about, before the European settlements occurred, I think about them being more hunters and gatherers. So when I did a little research about it, which I've done, many times, I think about even back when you go really far back, these big, gigantic mammoths, they used to hunt. And then that transitioned to the bison and the deer and of course smaller animals like rabbits and things like that. I think they even hunted camels, the Native Americans back in the day. So when you think about the diets that would be ancestral appropriate, right? How do you perceive that? Do you think about hunters and gatherers, or do you think about other types of foods
The
when it
difference
comes?
between the Native American hunting was because our ancestors were hungry to eat.
Mhm.
When the Europeans came into our country, they killed for treasure,
Mm,
for the parts of the animal. They're still
mm,
doing it. They didn't kill for because they were hungry, because God, our gods gave us something to eat, and so we go hunt it and feed the tribes.
mhm,
The same thing with growing food on the ground. Um, you know, a good example is what's the celebration coming up in October? Thanksgiving.
right, mhm,
The Native Americans were thanks for what God gave us to eat, and and we prayed and had parties for it. The
mhm,
difference between us and them is that they celebrate the genocides. They won the war. What war? I don't
mhm,
know what they're talking about, because they always lie. But that's what they celebrate: the bloody genocides to our people.
mm,
That's the difference.
mm.
You know, and
Have you had these conversations with your like Caucasian brothers and sisters? Have you had conversations about these topics?
yeah, I have.
And
And
how do they perceive those
well,
discussions?
my younger brother, he was born here, so
Mhm,
but he understands. He follows. He's my friend on Facebook. If you see him, he follows You see my Egyptian on my page.
mhm,
He follows all the figurines of all our ancestors.
mhm.
He studies that too.
So he's a little bit more knowledgeable than the average person.
Yes, because
Yeah.
he grew up with me.
Mhm.
I was 16 years old when he was born,
Okay.
so he kind of had to grow up with me because, like I told you, my brother Getulio died, so my father lost it.
Mhm.
So and there I was again. My
Okay,
mother,
right.
we gotta do it, we gotta do it. Yeah, mom,
Yeah.
we'll do it, no problem. But
That'll work.
you know, I started talking to him about stuff like that. And the
Okay.
thing about that is that I love him so much. I started teaching him because like I told you, I like to write, and I started teaching him about music,
Mhm.
and that's why he graduated from me. He graduated as a poet,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
makes me happy. He just got a new job,
Nice.
so he's following the tradition that we had as youngsters.
Mhm.
We never hung around the streets. We were always doing something for the family and school. Like I told you, I played football, soccer,
Mhm.
coached. We were always busy doing something. No
Well,
game banging or anything like that.
that's right.
You know, we
Well,
were
you
we were taught different.
you
I was
had
going to
some
mention
good
something
role
about
models.
back in 1961.
Okay.
You know how the Republicans talk about the border and this and that, blah
Mhm.
blah blah. and they got their Europeans coming over here. They overstay their visas, and they're illegally working here too. But they never say nothing about that. Well, in 1961, I don't know if you know about the Bay of Pigs.
Mm-mm.
Okay, the CIA and I call them the missionaries of death
Mm-hmm.
were practicing in Guatemala in 1961 before they went to Cuba to overthrow Castro. And their target was young Mayan Indians, because the way they look at it is if we kill the young, and then we kill the race.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did before they went to Castro, and Castro demolished them.
Mm.
They came back with their tails between their legs.
Mm.
But that's what they did in Guatemala. That's the United States has like ex-Marines running countries in Central America, especially in Guatemala. Uh, they could kill let's say I live in Oakland. They could kill all that, all that city or the town, and all they have to do is write. They were guerrillas. We call them guerrillas, guerrillas,
Mm-hmm.
anti-government. That's all they had to do. Use their word, and everything's okay. In the
Mm-hmm.
United States, oh yeah, 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 yeah. They did good. They killed guerrillas, but they didn't know who they were killing.
Mm.
So that's why people are flying this way, because that's what they're doing there. And people don't understand that because they never seen it.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
And I like to share that with you because you don't even know that.
Well, that's it. There's a lot of misperceptions, misunderstandings, knowledge gaps, and maybe we should touch on a few of those during this conversation. One of the things that come to mind, I hear people saying all the time, is saying that that Native Americans are given basically what they describe as a free ride, that they get resources that other people in the country don't get. So I hear
Yeah,
you chuckle, but what is
that's
there any truth to that?
that's another lie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you straight up. The history of the United States, which they call America,
Mm-hmm.
is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
They lied about everything. What do you think they're banning books right now? Because they don't want their American people, so-called American people, and they think they're American Europeans. They don't want them to learn what happened back then. That's why they're banning books in the United States, trying to ban books in the United States. I was blessed.
Mm-hmm.
I was taught. Someone pushed me. My mom pushed me to study. That's one thing my mom always said. He told everybody, "Don't tell me you're not going to school. Don't tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not," actually, one example is my brother Joe.
Mm-hmm.
My brother Joe came and told her that, and my mom says, "Oh yeah, no school no more. Okay." She
Mm-hmm.
enlisted him and with the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, no school. Go fight for the USA.
Okay.
So that's and I back everything up with what my mom did. It was right because she tried so hard to get everybody in line. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Keep everybody in line, and don't tell me you're not going to do this because this is what would happen.
Yeah.
So,
Well, somebody's got to control the troops, right? And no better person than mom to do that. So, uh,
that's a lie. Oh, everything that they wrote is a lie. Everything.
what about we talked about, it sounds like Native American is a better term. Do you have friends or family members that prefer the tribal names of the past, Cherokee, things like that? Do you have friends and family that prefer to hear those types of terms to describe themselves as opposed to Native American?
No, because they're Native Americans.
So Native American is a term that most of the people you
Yeah,
interact with feel
except the
more.
Europeans.
Okay.
We talk to each other like that. We are Native Americans. They
Mm-hmm.
don't call us Native Americans. They called us. Uh, if you were born in the United States, you're a Native American. But if
Okay.
you were born in Central America, in the continent, American continent, you're not an American native.
Mm-hmm.
That's the laws they written when they started written the white laws.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little friend of about 30 years old, I think he is. He got so he's an Irish boy, nice kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I had explained to him about that. And he goes, "Wow, I never looked at it that way." He says, "Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because you never got taught." He says, "Well, I appreciate the conversation. That I'll take in heart because I said he never got taught. He
Mm-hmm.
never learned that." I told him about the bending the books. He goes, "You're
Mm-hmm.
right. That's why
Mm-hmm.
they want to do it."
Okay.
So,
Now, I think about language a lot. Even now, I don't know if you knew this, but I grew up. I grew up in a city on the west side, but I went to Lane Tech High School.
where?
Okay, Lane Tech High School on
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
north
yeah.
side.
I remember.
So for those who are not in Chicago, that's a one of the at the time that I went there, it was one of the top 10 schools in the city. Still probably is.
Still is.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I was fortunate to go there, but I know at some point their mascot was kind of kind of a Indian slash, maybe you can describe it as a warrior, uh, a redskin, maybe is a better way to describe it. And I think in a couple of years ago, they actually voted to not use that. Um,
You want me to put
that
my light on?
Yeah, you can feel free to do that,
Hold
and
on.
yeah, feel free to do that. And so this redskin mascot only a couple of years ago, I think the school voted to not use it anymore. And when you think about things like that,
That's an
a Met,
insult.
yeah, that's what I would assume. Yeah.
As look at Kansas City.
Mhm.
Look at the chant. They don't even know what they're chanting. You know what
Right.
the chant is?
Mhm. What? What does it mean?
The chant means when the warriors are ready to fight,
Mm.
and they don't even know what that is. They're
Mhm.
Europeans.
Mhm.
They just say it, but they don't
Mhm.
they don't know the meaning of it.
Okay. Okay.
But that's when the warrior is ready to go. It's the
Mm.
chant say, let's do this.
I
And this,
think I mean, to me, even if you go back to the term you mentioned Latinx, right? Now, to me, it would make more sense to so if a Latinx term comes up, I learned from my oldest son that this is kind of a gender neutral term. Uh, you know, they use terms like non-binary alternative to Latino versus Latina. So if somebody is in that community and they just happen to be LGBTQ, using Latinx allows for that to be a blanket term to reflect everybody without a person maybe being offended, calling maybe somebody that doesn't want to be referred as a Latino, a Latina, or vice versa. Now, having said that, but it seems like when these terms are created, right? It
hey,
doesn't seem like it's coming from the community that it represents. It comes from outside that community. So the only
yeah,
thing I would want is if there's some body that exists that whose job is to decide we need to change the term or use a different term, I would just prefer that terminology come from that community. So, how do you feel about that? I mean, do you agree with that, or do you think there's another way to do this?
Native Americans.
Just right?
We're not okay.
Yeah.
I explained to you. We're not Spanish. We're not from Spain. I
Yeah.
did have Spain blood from my mother, but we
Okay.
weren't born in Spain. So, it's the language Spanish. They use it because it comes from Spain.
Okay.
Actually, the Spanish language is called. Um, I got it in my mind. I'll go back to it. And all the dialects everybody speaks here, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, and all that. That's just like the it's just like the English.
Mm.
And we all have dialects, but as the Spanish language is called Castellano.
Yes, I remember when I was learning Spanish that terminology was being used.
That's the language, and they won't say that because they can't pronounce it.
Mhm.
They'll say Castilian.
Mm.
Everything look like I explained to you. Spanish was hijacked, or Castellano was hijacked. Our ancestors' language was hijacked.
Mm.
I explained to you many words in Spanish that they changed to different uh, pronunciation.
Mhm.
But that language was stolen from us,
Mhm. Okay.
and they tell us to speak English. Okay, well, write the right English. But yeah, like I say, everything they wrote is a lie.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
what can be done to start to heal that and fix that? Is there
well,
anything?
we have a secretary working for the Native Americans right now.
Mhm.
Uh, Biden is doing a good job of putting different people in different positions.
Mm.
So he gave this job to this Native American lady, and
Mhm.
she's beginning to change. Look,
Mm.
when a white lady or a white guy disappear, boom, it's in the news.
Mhm.
When a black man, a Native American, or a black ladies disappear, you don't hear nothing.
Mhm.
So she's changing that.
Mm. Okay.
Same thing with the armed forces. They never did anything sexually wise. What happened to our people and black people?
Mhm.
They just started changing things,
Mhm.
which I think what we need is another black president or a black native president with
Mhm.
a black man at the opposite,
Mhm.
and they both will do a great job fixing this
Yeah.
economy and all that.
Mhm.
Because everything they do is greed.
Mhm.
Look at the corporations. I don't know if you remember, but back then we had the little boxes of milk, the little boxes of juice. Now they got the big boxes. It cost you like about $6, $6, and they put more water. Here, I'm gonna show you. And they put more water in it than juice,
Mm.
and it costs you more. But
Mm.
back then, if you were thirsty for milk or juice, you stop at the store and boom, and you're
Mhm.
good. Now you can't even buy that.
Yeah.
And that's the corporations.
Yeah, the world is definitely driven by money, and it sounds like in order to fully have the lens of the people who may have been given a much easy to describe unfair deal, you have to have people who understand those communities and those roles. And that's why, even in our health system, we're really trying to do diversity and inclusion as much as possible so that different voices are at the table. So I totally agree with that. I think that that's a huge benefit because you can't understand what people have gone through if you haven't heard from them and have them at the table. So when you think about the future moving forward, um, I mean, it sounds like one of the things you'd like to see is more inclusion in government. maybe even in healthcare. Even at the clinic I work at, there's probably three African American men who are doctors, maybe.
Well, we have begun. You
Yeah,
know, the brother that was born here, he
yeah,
went to college, studied. He's
yes,
got degrees. His kids are coming up.
yep,
My nieces got kids, and they're coming up, and hopefully they choose something that they would like to do and follow it.
yeah. And I
You
think
know,
that's what it's all about. I was the first to go to college, and then but now it's becoming like normal. Like, it's almost expected now to that you would do that. So you're right. You start it and you keep it going. Let's
exactly.
think about your future. So you've done really well. You lost 53 pounds. Everything looks better when I look at your labs and everything. So what other things, when you think about protecting your nest, what other things do you plan to focus on over the next year?
Keep on going, and hopefully, I will write a good poem or something that someone will pick up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll step on that,
That's right.
which I've been writing since uh, actually about the same time
Mm-hmm.
that that I started seeing you. That was about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got my books over here. I write about anything, everything that comes out in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
whatever is in my mind at night or that moment I'm sitting and a word comes out, I write it down and follow it later.
Mhm. Okay.
You know, so that's was one of my dreams, like I told you earlier, was to
Mhm.
be a writer. But things move differently, but they move different in a positive way.
Mhm. Okay.
You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? I helped my
Yeah.
parents survive. I survived. Now, like I said, my siblings are doing fantastic. So let's keep on going, see what happens.
Yeah. Life is looking good, and as we kinda conclude, Victor, I appreciate your authenticity. Sometimes we just gotta say what we feel, and, everybody has a perception of the world, and I think the one of the things about this podcast is to hear the voice of those who maybe we would have otherwise not heard of. And I
Okay,
think you just gotta.
let me put this in right now about this podcast. This is the beginning,
Mm,
like I began with you 4 years ago. You gave
mm,
me this chance to tell my story, and I'm loving every minute of it.
mm,
And see, you keep giving me that. You keep feeding me
mm,
positivity. Give me
mhm,
positive vibes, and that's what I like about people, to
mm.
give me positive vibes, and that way I feel better. I make them feel better.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's paid. Like my mom used to say, you bless someone, you will get blessed better. But
Yeah,
don't
she
think
was
about
right.
it. It
Miss
will come.
Bertha was right. She was right. She Everything about our relationship is mutually beneficial, and I wouldn't have it any other way. In fact, those who don't have these kind of relationships with the people they have in their lives, I don't know why you would do it any other way. So let's keep blessing each other with just our presence, our positive energy, and the support that we both need to do this work. So I
I asked my
appreciate you.
brother to be here, my brother Ivan.
Mhm.
But like I said, he started his new job. But I would have liked you for you to meet him. You would
Well,
like
we
his
will
positive vibes too. He's a very smart
well,
kid.
we're gonna make sure that happens. If it doesn't
It
happen for.
reminds me of you. The last time I seen you, I go, you know what? I see him like my brother
Mm,
because my brother is like that. You
mm,
know, we had little problems, but that's okay. We love each other.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's normal. And I
and
appreciate you saying that. That means a lot to me.
And I
And
love what you're doing for me. You
man, so
know?
I love you calling me your brother. I receive that. I need some brothers in my life. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your story of healing. I hope somebody walked away from this experience being better than they started. So I want to thank you just for being here, man, and sharing your story. I can't wait to give it to the world so they can hear your story, okay?
Sounds fantastic.
All right, let's do it. So thanks again, Victor, and for those who are watching or listening, I hope Victor's perspective added another layer of understanding about why some people struggle, right? More than
Yes.
others to achieve
Yes.
metabolic health. It is what it is. And it's not going to stop us from doing what we have to do to get to metabolic health, but we just have to recognize there's a struggle. So I hope the awareness of, struggle, the awareness of challenge will allow other people to say, you know what, I'm not going to be afraid of this struggle. I'm going to embrace this struggle because this struggle is going to make me better. And and the other thing I want you to walk away from is let's have some empathy. I've used that term before. There are reasons why people struggle, right?
Right.
And in fact, Victor, I'll be doing a video released the same week of this episode where I'm going to talk about lead in Chicago. We have a lead problem in Chicago, and if I have a young man, even not even a baby, a young man who's been exposed to lead, that may affect his behavior, increasing his risk of being incarcerated because of his behavior, not because he was a bad guy, because he was exposed to lead. And it's just
Right.
so we have to understand these things and try to create an environment where people are not exposed to lead. So, I believe that there are many other victors out there, ready to make lifestyle changes. And I just hope that if you're watching or listening to this and you have somebody in your life that reminds you of a victor, right?
Well,
Make sure
I
that
hope
they
that I hope our conversation will help, like you said, a
that's
lot of
right.
people.
Let's get this conversation in front of them so that they will hear a story of healing and hearing some of the things that Victor shared about how the Native American community is being perceived. And we want to make sure we're honest about these conversations. You don't have to agree with any of it, but you have to hear the voice of the person who is in that community. So as we conclude, just know that I will continue to walk with you on your path to healing, just like I'm walking with Victor, and he's inspiring me to do just the same. And it is really my life's mission to do this work, and I'm so thankful that I've been given the opportunity to do so. So, Victor, as we wrap up, and as I say to everybody, let's continue to move forward, supporting each other, loving each other. I got me a new brother, and I only ask as we wrap up that you continue to be safe, be well, and continue to protect your nest.